To summarize part 1. One time a man was breaking into my dad's house and my dad got a monster-size army-style big-ass gun out to save us and I was under my blanket texting my friends goodbye on Kick. All of a sudden the man broke down the door, turned the corner, and right before my dad pulled the trigger he realized it was his friend Daniel. His fucking friend Daniel. His dumb ass, smelly, wife only married him to get her green card then left his ass, little piece of shit friend was drunk and thought it would be a funny prank to make my dad think he was having a home invasion. Who the fuck in their right mind thinks this is a good prank? I cried myself to sleep. They are still friends and this man offered me a hug in December at my grandmother's funeral. I gave him a hug because like sad times, but I did not forgive.
When I was 4, my family went on a vacation to South Carolina at a place called Myrtle Beach. We were at the pool and my mom assumed that I was with my dad when I actually wasn't. When my dad got back to her with my older brother, I obviously wasn't with him. She started freaking out when all of a sudden the loudspeaker said, "There is a lost little girl here at the bar. She is so cute and her name is Emma." Surely enough, my dad got to the bar and there was my dumbass sitting there, surrounded by some biker gang with 2 sprites. The funniest part is that my dad had to do the walk of shame to get me. First grade, my mom wasn't really in her right mind. She didn't have much to send me to school, and meaning I didn't have much to wear. I had no shoes to wear and she thought that flip-flops, socks, and tape was the solution. This bitch sent me to school in flip-flops with socks on and cut holes in the socks so my toes could separate and then taped around the flip-flop part. I went to school wearing that. My teacher thought my mom was fucking crazy and my teacher bought me a bunch of clothes and like 2 pairs of shoes. Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Me and my friends, ex-friends now, have always had a good friendship, and I'm insecure about my body. And when I was at one of my friend's house, I snuck on my friend's phone and there was a group called Fat. I got really upset and started crying. My friend's mom heard me and asked if I was okay and I replied no, not really. She asked what was wrong, so I gave her my friend's phone, and she said I will have a word with her. So when she came out the toilet, her mom was shouting so much at her and screaming, "She's your best friend and you have hurt her so badly." My friend soon came down with my clothes and said sorry and that she was a bad friend. And I said, "Well, you know, I'm really insecure," and walked out. That's the last I've heard from her. From Anonymous. When I was 5, I saw this boy and his name was Ollie and I would play with him sometimes. My parents thought he was just an imaginary friend, so they didn't really care. A couple years later, I saw him and I had a little brother after my brother was born. My parents started to see Ollie too. Sometimes things happened to my brother, like his toys disappearing or his drawings being ripped up. Ollie would still come in my room and play, but it was different. He wasn't really himself. He seemed mad. I felt uncomfortable and scared around him. So then fast forward 8 years to now. My grandma moved into that house a couple years ago and she said that sometimes she sees Ollie hanging out in my old room. When I was like 6, there was this girl who always used to bully me and my bestie, and one day, she punched my bestie and like the bad bleep I was, I got scissors and stabbed her with them and she was rushed to the hospital, but me and my best friend got away with it because we were still young. So this all happened a few years ago. I was in this friend group with 2 other girls. Let's call them Camilla and Victoria. It was Camilla's birthday. So me and Victoria spent a few days planning her birthday surprise. Victoria and I decided to get cakes and party poppers for Camilla after school. Victoria helped me set up her surprise, which we planned being in front of her house. Her house was near the school, so it was only a like 3-minute walk, and we knew she wasn't gonna be home because earlier she has told us she was gonna go to the store because her parents asked her to go grocery shopping after school anyways. Victoria then told me that she was going to get Camilla at the store while I wait for them. I waited for about an hour and mind you, it was raining hard. Before I realized that they weren't coming back, broken heart. One thing I haven't mentioned is I have really strict parents who would get really mad at me if I went home late. So I broke my parents' rules only to get ditched, winking face with stuck out tongue. I put the cake back in Victoria's backpack, and as I was walking back to school, I saw them and some of my other friends eating lunch together. I was so mad and cried all the way home. Sparkles. Monkey covering.
So when I was like 2, my mom wouldn't let my dad see me or my brothers because she was toxic and abusive. And I don't know what happened, but at some point he thought it was enough and he lit my grandma's house on fire, which is where we lived, and took me and my brothers to some place and we just sat there. So after he did that, he got caught and was locked up for about 7 years. So fast forward, he gets out and my mom lets him see us again because she believed he had changed. So we would go with him on the weekends, and it got to a point where he got a girlfriend and he moved in with her over there, and it was going good, till they started fighting a lot, and then they would make up, but eventually they got engaged. But the fights got worse, so eventually she kicked his dusty ass out, and he stayed at his sister's house, and we would go over there to see him. On Memorial Day, exactly 2 years ago, he was asking us if we wanted to go to Ohio with him. And my dumbass thought he had asked my mom, and she was okay with it, so I said yes, but my older brother said no, and when we were leaving, my brother called my mom and told her about it and she had no clue, and my dad saw my brother on the phone and took it. We all got in the car to leave, and my brother kept trying to get the phone back, but my dad wouldn't let him. Eventually my dad threw the fucking phone out of the window, and it landed in some water, so my brother got out of the car and ran to see where his phone was. Keep in mind, my dad didn't buy it, and barely did anything for us. So he was looking for the phone, and me and my other brother got out to help, and my dad wanted us to get in the car, but none of us listened, so he drove off without us. But I had my phone, so I called my mom and told her everything, and her and my aunt were on their way.
To the real bitches who were concerned about me, to the people that left mean comments, it doesn't bother me, but those comments make people not want to stand up and share their stories, so please have some motherfucking empathy. Anyways, here's part 2, whores. So my fake ass dad drove 2 hours away from my school, and after I hung up my phone he took it. At this point I was getting a little nervous now that common fucking sense was running through my head. I could tell he was getting nervous too because he started to speed and he started to get really angry and violent. He sped past a cop and luckily was pulled over. He told me that if the cop asked I had to say he was my dad. I have a fear of cops, so I immediately started ugly crying like a bitch and I thought I would go to jail if I lied. He asked me if I knew the man and I said that he told me he was my dad, and I could tell the guy was about to shit his pants because he couldn't form a complete sentence, so the cop thought this was sus. The cop took me from him and I called my mom bawling my fucking eyes out until she came.
When I was in 6th grade, I didn't like my sister, Catherine, at all. She was never home, and when she was always with her friends. One day she finally let me hang out with her and her friend. They asked me what I wanted to do and I wanted to go on the trampoline. While we were on there, Catherine wanted to do a front flip but she was too scared, so she told me to hold her arm and flip her. Catherine's friend, Elizabeth, decided to video it. The first time it went well, but she yelled at me for letting go of her hand. She made me do it again and I was so mad at her I yanked that crusty, musty camel girl onto her neck. I started laughing and ran away, expecting her to chase me inside, but she laid still on the trampoline while Elizabeth stopped the video and rushed over to her. She couldn't move, so my mom took her to the hospital. Turns out she was paralyzed from the neck down, and we have it all on.
On a Friday night I got invited to my friend's sleepover. It was all going good until we heard a rock hit the window. We looked outside and it was our classmate Roger. He told us to open the window and sneak out with him. We were only 10 feet high and I shoved this girl out the window since I didn't really like that bitch anyway. We went to the nearest 7-Eleven to get Slurpees, and as we were in the store a man came in with a gun. He told us lay down and we did as we were told. Like for part 2. If you haven't watched part 1 or 2, go watch it. Anyways, the fire trucks came and helped that bitch out of the snapping turtles exhibit. When he stood up he had a giant hole in his pants. We could see his ass. It had bites from the turtles. I started saying save the turtles SKSKSKSKSK and I got suspended for 3 weeks. I'm a bad bitch. They found out I pushed him and from that day no one messed around with me. I forced people to sit at lunch with me or I'll cut their hair off. If they don't choose me first for kickball I'll take spiders and put them in your book bag. I eventually left that school because it was full of pussies. My friends hide behind me since they're pussies and the guy with the gun tells me to get into his car and I throw my slushy on that bitch and he shoots and hits someone in the other aisle. My friend faints when she sees blood, so that bitch fainted and I whispered to my friends to attack him. I kick him in the testicles and he yells. My friends and I start beating him up with my belt and shoes. The worker called the police and we get awarded free slushies for life. Our parents found out we snuck out but they didn't ground us because we saved some people's asses. So one day, I posted a YOLO on Snapchat, and people were telling me to kill myself, so I responded to one of them saying okay I'm done, and I fake sick in the morning so I wouldn't have to go to school. Then everyone that morning was saying I killed myself and that I was dead because I didn't show up to school and that I wasn't responding to any texts. Then as I was sleeping my mom breaks in my room telling me the cops were outside. As I walk out, They ask me what happened and I was confused, so I tell them IDK what they're talking about. Then they show me the YOLO and apparently someone told the counselor about it and they called the cops. Then my mom forced me to go to school, and once I got there everyone in the hall was staring at me and my friends started crying and gave me hugs cause they thought I was dead. I never posted a YOLO again. Annoying ass things females put on their Snapchat stories. One is logging off. Don't text me, ma bitch, log off. It's not like somebody gon' text you just cause you logging off. Surprise bitch, your phone's still dry. Nobody wants to talk to you. Next we got 1111. I don't even know why that is a thing, to be honest with you. But it just looked dumb as fuck. Next we got single as fuck. HMU. Bitch. Stay single. Talking about hit me up or hook me up. Go to bed. Next we got I can't sleep. Bitch, just close your eyes. The fuck? Like we supposed to come to your house and rock you to sleep? We don't give a fuck. Last we got them hoes who beef on each other's stories. Bitch, grow up. Bold ass hoes. Like when they get mad, one put something on her story, then the other one be the first one to look at it and reply by putting something on their stories. The fuck? I don't know if this is worth posting, but it's the story of how me and my high school sweetheart reunited. I met her while I was a senior and she was a junior. We dated throughout the whole school year until it was time for me to go off to college. I graduated high school in 2006. We had to break up because I was moving pretty far away for college and I didn't want her to wait for me. I wanted her to live her best life while I was away. Several years go by without zero communication since we weren't big on social media. I came to my hometown to visit and we bumped into each other randomly at a grocery store. We talked, exchanged numbers and went on a few days. Now we're happily married. The whole right person wrong time does exist. There were so many times where I was losing hope, but I am so glad I didn't. She's my soulmate.